The Russian-Ukrainian war in Bakhmut and its eastern Donetsk region is relentless. Both sides reported increasing enemy casualties as they fought their way across the creek that cut through the destroyed city and now marks the front line. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said late on Sunday his troops had killed more than 1,100 Russian soldiers in recent days as they fought for control of Bakhmut. In less than a week, starting from March 6th, we managed to kill more than 1,100 enemy soldiers in the Bakhmut sector alone. An irreversible Russian defeat, there, near Bakhmut, Zelensky said in his late-night video address. Russian troops suffered 1,500 losses of health, soldiers injured badly enough to put them out of action, Zelensky said. Dozens of enemy equipment were destroyed as well as more than 10 Russian ammunition depots, he said. Reuters was unable to independently verify the account. Russia's defense ministry said earlier in the day that its troops had killed more than 220 Ukrainian soldiers over the last 24 hours in the direction of Donetsk. Reuters was unable to independently verify battlefield reports, and neither side provided details on their own casualties. Ukrainian forces control the west of the nearly deserted mining town of Bakhmut, while Russian mercenary group Wagner controls much of the east, with the Bakhmutka River flowing through the town marking the front line, British intelligence said in a weekend update. Wagner founder Yevgeny Prigozhin said Sunday that the situation in Bakhmut was difficult, very difficult. The closer we get to the city center, the more difficult the battle will be. The Ukrainians are deploying endless reserves. But we are moving forward and we will be advancing, Prigozhin said in an audio statement released by his press service. He also said members of the Russian army were helping his troops with ammunition. Yesterday, we got 15 trucks, today we got 12. And I think we will continue to accept it, he said, adding there was no conflict between his fighters and Russian forces. Prigozhin had previously complained that Russian officials were deliberately starving his men with a lack of ammunition, an accusation the defense ministry denied. Prigozhin said Wagner will start over again and start hiring once Bakhmut is overpowered. He added that he wanted to turn his private military company into an army with an ideology that would fight for justice in Russia. Wagner has opened recruiting centers in 42 cities to increase his army. While Bakhmut's strategic value is debatable, Russia sees it as a step towards the main goal of the war, now in its second year, of seizing all of Ukraine's Donbas industrial region. Donetsk and Luhansk regions form the Donbas. The Ukrainians had decided to stay and fight at Bakhmut after early signs of his planning to withdraw, to destroy the best Russian units ahead of a spring counterattack. Analysts expect the Ukrainian counteroffensive to begin in earnest during April to May as the weather improves and more military aid arrives, including the Leopard and Challenger heavy tanks. Western tanks will significantly change war tactics, Leonid Koda, an experienced Ukrainian tank brigade commander who received the Hero of Ukraine award less than a month after Russia's full-scale invasion, told Reuters. Everyone is waiting. The 1st Tank Brigade is also waiting. Not long ago, we sent personnel to learn to operate Leopard 2A6, said Koda, who commands the 1st Siversk Tank Brigade fighting south of Donetsk. Elsewhere, Russian shelling killed 3 civilians who were on their way to buy groceries in the southern city of Kherson on Saturday, Zelensky said, denouncing what he called a brutal terrorist attack by pro-Moscow units. Russia denies targeting civilians. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba urged Germany in an interview published on Sunday to speed up ammunition supplies and to start training Ukrainian pilots with Western fighter jets. Kuleba made it clear he did not expect Western allies to provide Ukraine with the fighter jets it had requested anytime soon, but said pilots should be ready when a decision is made. Separately, a senior EU official said the European Union could soon increase its arms purchases for Ukraine by €3.5 billion. Ukraine and Russia mutual claims of killing hundreds of enemy forces personnel. Ukraine and Russia mutually claimed on Saturday that hundreds of enemy soldiers had been killed over the previous 24 hours in the battle for Bakhmut. Kiev claimed to be fending off the incessant attacks, and the creek that ran through the city now marked a new front line. Serhiy Cherevati, spokesman for the Ukrainian military, said that 221 pro-Moscow soldiers were killed and more than 300 injured in Bakhmut. The Russian Ministry of Defense meanwhile said that up to 210 Ukrainian soldiers died in the wider Donetsk section of the front line. Moscow did not elaborate on casualties in Bakhmut, the eastern city of Donetsk, which has been the scene of one of the bloodiest and longest fighting in the year-long war. Both sides claim to have suffered and incurred significant losses in Bakhmut, while the exact number of casualties is difficult to independently verify. British military intelligence said on Saturday that the Russian Wagner mercenary group had taken control of much of eastern Bakhmut, an advance that the group's founder Yevgeny Prigozhin claimed on Wednesday. In the city center, the Bakhmutka River now marks the front line, the UK Ministry of Defense said in its daily intelligence bulletin. The Ukrainians insisted they were holding out on Bakhmut and giving the Russian forces a deserved rebuff, with the commander tasked with defending Bakhmut saying its protection was key to a Ukrainian counterattack. It is important to get time to gather reserves and start a counteroffensive, which is not far off, the military quoted General Alexander Syrsky as saying. Moscow says seizing Bakhmut will punch a hole in Ukraine's defenses and be a step towards capturing all of the Donbas industrial areas, a key target. Kiev said the fighting crushed Russia's best units. Ukraine urges Germany to send more ammunition and train pilots. Ukraine's foreign minister, Dmytro Kuleba, urged Germany to speed up ammunition supplies and to start training Ukrainian pilots with Western fighter jets. He disclosed this in an interview published today, Sunday. Dmytro Kuleba told German newspaper Bild am Sonntag that ammunition shortages were #1 problem in Ukraine's efforts to repel the Russian invasion. He said German arms manufacturers had told him at the Munich Security Conference last month they were ready to deliver them but were waiting for the government to sign a contract. So the problem lies with the government, Kuleba said as quoted by Reuters. Kuleba made it clear he does not expect Western allies to provide Ukraine with the fighter jets it has requested anytime soon. But he said Ukrainian pilots had to be trained, so they would be ready once the decision was made. If Germany were to train Ukrainian pilots, that would be a clear message about its political involvement, he said. Separately, Kuleba said Ukraine would continue to defend the town of Bakhmut, which has been the focus of Russian attacks for the last 6 months. If we withdraw from Bakhmut, what will change? The Russians will take Bakhmut and then continue their attack on Chasiv Yar, so any town behind Bakhmut can suffer the same fate, he explained. Asked how long Ukrainian troops could hold out in the city, he declined to give a specific answer, comparing them to people defending their homes from intruders who tried to kill them and take everything they had. Russia has called its actions in Ukraine a special military operation to combat what it describes as a security threat to Ukraine's relations with the West, an argument that Kiev and the West reject.